All right, let's talk about something called digital waswasa. It's this really fascinating idea that the battle for your focus, for your attention, it isn't just you against some clever algorithm. It's about a kind of psychological whispering that can hijack your attention. So, we're going to break down what it is, how you can spot it, and most importantly, how you can start fighting back.
You know that feeling, right? Where it feels like you're literally fighting your own phone? You pick it up just to do one simple thing. Check the weather, maybe send a quick text, and all of a sudden, you're in this battle against your own impulses. It's not just about a lack of willpower. There's something else going on here.
And it usually starts with this, the endless hypnotic scroll. You're just swiping, almost in a trance, and before you know it, 30 minutes are just gone. And you can't even remember why you unlocked your phone in the first place. Or maybe it's this scenario, a sudden flash of anger. You type out this message you probably shouldn't, hit send, and then instant regret. You get that sinking feeling of, why did I do that? That's not me. And then there's the big one, the lost hour. That jarring moment when you finally look up from the screen and realize a huge chunk of your day has just vanished, leaving you with this feeling of regret and kind of blaming yourself. So what is really happening in these moments? So what's the deal? It's so easy to imagine it's some kind of, ghost in the machine, but the real explanation is a lot more psychological and honestly, a lot more interesting. Let's dig into how this influence actually works.
The source material for this explainer calls this phenomenon digital waswasa. Now, waswasa is an Arabic word for a subtle, nagging whisper, like a distracting thought or a negative suggestion that just pops into your head. So in this digital context, it's not about someone hacking your phone's code. It's about influencing you, the user, your thoughts, your mood, your impulses.
And this slide right here lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the myths. Jinn hacking your code, actual ghosts, or some kind of possessed AI. But the reality, on the right, is way more subtle and personal. It's about whispering to you, the user, influencing your emotional state, and just encouraging you to misuse the tech.
This quote from the Quran really gets to the heart of it. He whispers into the hearts of people. Notice it doesn't say he whispers into the circuits or into the silicone. This just drives home the point that the target isn't the technology itself, it's human consciousness.
Okay, so if this is really happening, how would you even know? How can you tell the difference? Well, let's break down some of the most common telltale signs you can actually look for in your own habits.
First one up is a big one, that sudden, compulsive urge to check your phone for no reason at all. You literally just looked at it 10 seconds ago. You know there's nothing new, but you do it anyway. This is a classic sign of that inner restlessness and compulsion.
Second is when you find yourself repeatedly using technology in a way that just goes against your own values, sending that angry text, clicking on something you know you shouldn't, and then that feeling hits you again. I didn't even want to do that. That gap between what you want to do and what you actually do, that's a key sign. Now here's a really subtle one. Does a slow internet connection or a frozen app ever just trigger this disproportionate wave of rage? When a tiny little problem causes this huge emotional reaction, that's a pattern that's definitely worth paying attention to. And finally, we have the automatic scroll. This is that zoned out state where you're not really thinking, you're not absorbing anything, you're just swiping. Your attention has basically been hijacked, and this is what leads to those lost hours we talked about earlier.
So what makes this different from just a normal bad habit? Well, as you can see here, these whispers, they often pop up at really important moments. They always seem to produce regret and this kind of spiritual heaviness, and they feel repetitive, like you're fighting the same battle over and over. But the absolute key differentiator is that last point. The pattern can be instantly broken with a moment of remembrance, or dhikr, which is the Islamic practice of consciously remembering God. Okay, that's enough about the problem. Let's actually get to the solutions. Here is a super practical toolkit based on the source material for taking back your control.
The very first tool is what you could call the immediate cut. The second you feel that irrational urge, that flash of anger, the practice is to just pause and quietly say a short prayer for refuge, like A'udhu Billah in the Islamic tradition. This simple little act interrupts the entire thought loop right as it's starting.
And that idea builds into this really simple but powerful technique called digital wudu. It's just 3 steps. Step 1, feel the impulse, notice it. Step 2, pause. Just for 2 seconds, that's it. That tiny little gap is enough to break the autopilot response. And then, step 3, now you get to make a conscious choice instead of just reacting on impulse.
Let's look at a few more strategies. The single touch rule, that just forces you to be intentional. Creating friction, like burying your most distracting apps deep inside a folder, makes it less likely you'll open them mindlessly. And this last point is crucial. Tying your phone use to an event, like finishing a task, puts you in control. Tying it to a feeling, like boredom, gives the impulse control over you.
And here are 2 surprisingly effective physical pattern breakers. If you find yourself stuck in a compulsive loop while you're sitting down, just stand up. That physical shift can actually break the mental state. Another one is to just go splash your face or hands with some water. That little sensory shock can snap you right out of it.
So what's the big idea here? What's the one thing that ties all of this together? Let's distill it all down to the core principle of protection. This final chart just summarizes the whole dynamic perfectly. On the left, you've got the tools of shaitan, the tempter or devil in Islamic tradition, which are things like impulsivity and distraction. And on the right, you have your tools, awareness, intention, and remembrance. See how each defense directly counters a method of influence? It's a really simple but powerful framework to keep in mind.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this one question. Every single time we reach for our phones, is this a tool or is it a trap? Is it serving my intentions or is it just capturing my attention? And as we've seen, the power to choose between those two is so often found in that simple 2-second pause.